Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is one that I've kind of got in the routine of filming and you guys seem to enjoy them every time I make them. So here I am again, sharing my process of how I plan my wardrobe for the season ahead, which in this case is my all-time favourite season, autumn. Right, so my first step for planning my wardrobe for the season ahead is inspiration. And I've spoken about this before in previous videos, which are the same as this one, and other videos as well when it comes to how I sort of get my style inspiration and all that kind of thing. So I'm just going to touch on it briefly for those of you who are new and for anyone that might have missed those videos. So the key tool for me here is Pinterest, and I am not affiliated with Pinterest in any way. I'm not sponsored by them. It's just the tool which I find the most useful for collating and exploring inspiration as well. So usually when it comes to creating my mood board, I will do this about a month before the new season starts. And this is just so that I can get into the swing of and start really preparing for that next season. Now, my mood board for autumn, I actually started back in July this summer, and that is purely because we had or have had the most awful summer imaginable. July was pretty much a washout. August has been dull and dreary. And it's just, yeah, it's basically got me in the mood for autumn a lot sooner than what I might have done in any other year. So all I do with a mood board, as I just said, is start a new board for the season, and I just pin images that I personally find inspirational and that I find are going to help with any potential outfit styling. So for example, one thing that I'll do is I know what I have in my autumn wardrobe, and I'll search for outfits specifically containing some of those pieces. And they don't have to be the exact items, but let's say, for example, a green trench coat, which I have added to my wardrobe back in July. You might have seen that in a previous video. And so I'll search for green trench coat or green trench coat outfits so that I have some inspiration of lots of ways that I can wear that piece. And I often find that I come across outfits that I might not have thought of, and outfits that I already own, which is a great way of getting the most out of your wardrobe and being able to rewear all of those pieces that you already own. Right, so once I've created and sort of established my autumn mood board, and actually this goes for any season, whatever season I may be working on, that board will then be a work in progress, if you like. It will continue to kind of add and take away inspiration from there, and it will just constantly be a tool that I use throughout that season. So when looking at my mood board here, you can kind of see there's definitely more trousers than jeans, and that's something which I referenced in last year's video with the same title. So you can really see, even looking at actually some of my current outfits from, or at least some of my outfits from the past year, how my style has evolved to incorporate more trousers. And not only do I love the look of trousers, especially a tailored trouser when you're mixing it with trainers and a chunky knit, of course that's one of my all-time favourite looks, but after so many lockdowns and so much time at home, I think I actually just got into a bit of a habit of not wearing denim, and that is where this newfound love of trousers has come from. It's all about that comfort factor. Right, now once I've kind of established my mood board and got some bits and bobs on there, I then move on to my second step of planning and organising, which is my wardrobe switchover. And I know you guys love a wardrobe switchover despite the fact that I've made so many of those videos, and I can't believe you all still watch them, but I'm very thankful for it. It's a process that I really enjoy doing. It really unleashes the inner organiser within me. But unfortunately this year, there's going to be no switchover from spring, summer to autumn, winter because we are moving, and the majority of my wardrobe currently is all in boxes ready for moving day. So yes, unfortunately, there's going to be no switchover this year. However, I'm going to pop a link down below, or several links down below, to any of the previous wardrobe switchovers that I've done, that you've done. You've done them as well, but that I've done, so that any of you that haven't seen or aren't familiar with my process, I mean, it's not rocket science, it's just a switch over. But if anyone wants to go back and watch those, or perhaps some of you old faves want to go back and rewatch, they're all linked below in the description box. Now, the whole point in this wardrobe switchover, and the reason why it is an integral part of my planning process for the new season, is not only because I need to switch over the items that I'm no longer going to be wearing versus the ones that I will need, the warmer ones for autumn, all the knitwear and good cozy stuff that I'm going to need for that season, but it's also so that I can have all of my autumn winter goods out in front of me and I can do what I like to call a stock take. And the stock take of my wardrobe is now what leads me on nicely to my third step, which is my favourite step, the wish list. Now, I'm sure the majority of you are familiar with my process of compiling my wish list, but actually the reason that this is one of my favourite steps is because I've actually found that this step and this sort of process, if you will, in general, has probably been the most beneficial to me over the years in terms of changing my shopping habits and making me shop, let's say, a little bit more responsibly and not so impulsively. So once again, for the wish list making, the tool that I prefer to use is Pinterest, just because you can add images on there and it's just a lot more visual, which for me, I just find more appealing and I find it more thorough as well. If I see an image, I feel like I understand the image a lot more than I do just a bunch of notes. So when it comes to my wish list board, I actually do not start a new board for every season. My wish list board, because it's actually quite small and there's not a massive amount of items on there, I actually just roll that over from season to season. And the reason I do this is because Pinterest has a really handy tool, if you will, or a really handy function, which is that you can drag and drop images within a board. So basically what I'll do, if for example, let's use the current situation, so we're moving from spring, summer into autumn, winter. If I have any spring, summer items which are still on my wish list, which I haven't managed to find, because of course I buy a lot of things secondhand / pre-loved, then I will drag and drop those down to the bottom of the list so that they're still there for me to reassess next year. But then I'll drag any older items that perhaps I had from last autumn winter, I'll pull those up to the top of the list, or at the top of the board, if you will, so that they're right there at the top, fresh and ready for me to add any potential new items to the top up there. So they're all kind of within the same season category. Right, now the wish list that I'm sharing with you guys on screen is actually not my real wish list. I keep my real wish list private and I keep it hidden. And the reason for that is because I do have a lot of items which I'm trying to source secondhand, pre-loved, and they're items which are no longer in production. So a lot of old Celine, for example, you guys know that I love my old Celine. I keep these things kind of hidden just because it creates more competition. So if I say I'm looking for something specific, I don't want to kind of encourage you guys to go out there and look for it because I'm on the hunt for it and I don't want to have to fight any of you for some of the things that I'm looking for. So this board, this wishlist board that I'm sharing with you guys is just for demonstration purposes only, just so that it gives you a good idea of how I kind of navigate. So when it comes to adding certain things to my wish list, once I've done my stock take of my wardrobe, I'll have a look and see what pieces I feel I need or potentially what pieces I want to upgrade. And I might pin really specific exact items which I'm either saving up for, or perhaps I'm trying to locate them secondhand, as I just mentioned, or maybe I'm just waiting for them to come back in stock. But I also pin non-specific sort of generic items that I need to find something for in that category, if it makes sense. So for example, I had this pin on my wish list for a good couple of years and I added the note green trench so that I knew to keep my eyes peeled for the perfect green trench, which, as you'd have seen in a previous video, I have already found from COS. So then this item can then be removed from my wish list. Now, I also find pinning items really useful in terms of decision making, and this is where I kind of go back to talking about how it's made me a more responsible shopper. So I have pinned things on my wish list in the past which I've ended up removing because I've just simply changed my mind. So I'll go back to my wish list maybe 2 or 3 times a week, every few days, just to reassess and see if those items are still items that I really, really want to add to my wardrobe and that I feel they'll still add value to my wardrobe. So it's kind of like a process of shopping and adding items to your basket, considering them, and then sort of finally realising that I don't actually need them or want them. Right, so what I'm going to do now is actually share with you guys a few items that I do actually have on my real wish list. And the first item is actually a bag which normally I wouldn't want to share with you guys, but I've already spoken about it in previous videos, so you already know that I'm on the hunt for this, and it is an old Celine hobo. Now, what I mean by old Celine, because some people have messaged me and are a bit confused. So Celine got taken over by a new creative director. They removed the accent over the E. And the new creative director, I'm not such a fan of the direction that the brand is going. So therefore, I prefer old Celine with the old creative director, Phoebe Philo. Philo? I don't know how you pronounce it, but of course there's no surprise there. So yes, old Celine, that tends to be my go-to. The bonus of this is that obviously it's always going to be pre-loved secondhand that I'm going to find old Celine, because they don't make old Celine anymore. They obviously make a lot of the styles from old Celine, like the So Sangle, the classic bag, lots of various styles. They make those under the new Celine logo now, but there's lots of styles like the hobo, which I am still very much obsessed with, and I've had a pin on my wish list to find the Celine hobo. Now, the image that I'm showing you here is not the colourway that I'm looking for. The colourway that I am looking for, I'm not going to disclose because it's very specific, and I'm also after a very specific size, and there were 2 different variations of the hobo. I'm also not going to disclose that because I really specifically want this bag, and I've been after it now for about 3 years, I think. And yeah, I'm just waiting for the right one to come my way. Patience is a virtue, as I have learnt from my Celine classic bag that took me 8 years to find. Next up on my list is a non-specific item, and it is trousers, which I know many of you may be thinking, why on earth do you need more trousers? Well, it's because I have a newfound love of trousers. And after doing a little stock take at the end of last autumn winter, I realised that there were a few colours that I feel like I want in certain styles. So I'm after a really dark navy wide leg, and actually the trousers that I've got on, these are the House of Dagmar Valentina trousers. They are in beautiful merino wool, and these have actually just come back in stock in the black, which I'm wearing, which mine are old, but they've just brought them back in stock, and they do have a navy colour. So those are a navy option that I'm considering, because these I love so much. I've worn them a million times. That's an exaggeration, but I've worn them a lot. And I love them so much. And despite the fact that I did need to take the hem down, which is not a big deal, I am very much considering the navy version because I do love these so much. Right, now another item that I've had on my wish list for a little while now, and it's actually another generic item, is a navy trench coat. Now, I did have a navy trench coat a couple of years ago, bought from Cézanne, and I loved it initially, but I actually found that the fabric, it was very structured. So it was like more like a Burberry trench coat, that classic kind of structured style with quite starchy cotton gabardine fabric. And I actually just found that it was quite stiff and that there wasn't a great deal of movement to it. So that was actually something that I sold, I think, earlier on this year, or it could have been the tail end of last year, I can't remember. But yes, I sold that one on and continued on the hunt for sort of my perfect navy trench coat. And then finally, I have this item on my wish list, and I'm debating. Again, it's another generic item, although I have seen something that matches the description and it matches the brief of what I'm looking for, and it's a long camel coat. Now, I have my camel coat from the Curated, which I love, but the Curated, and obviously I know this because I work with them and we've obviously created a blazer together, And I know after speaking to Nicola how difficult it is to get sizing and size proportions right so that it is suitable for a wider audience. Now, I am above average height. I'm quite tall, I'm 5'9". All my height is in my legs. My torso is just regular standard size torso, but my legs are just ridiculous, which is why I have so many problems trying to buy trousers. But all that aside, which is not even relevant, I'm tall, that's the point. And that is that unfortunately a lot of items, like coats for example, never quite fall at the length that I really want them to. And I often see petite girls and I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous because the coats and things fall at the perfect kind of length that I want them to. And yet on me, they're sort of knee length. And really what I want them to is sort of mid-calf. So I am at least considering a longer camel wool or cashmere coat. I did have the one which I bought secondhand, the vintage Max Mara. However, that admittedly the size of it, I lost a little bit of weight during the first lockdown. And I just felt that it swamped me. So again, that was something that I sold on so that someone else can love it and get use out of it. It just felt like it was too big for me. So yes, I am still on the hunt for a longer camel coat, but right now it's kind of, that's not a big priority for me because I do have my curated camel coat. So that's one of those items that's still up for consideration. Right, there we go. There was a lot more waffling there than I anticipated about how I plan my wardrobe, but hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you found it useful in some way, that's amazing. That is the prime objective. If you took anything away from this video, any little tips on how to organise or just maximise your wardrobe, then that just makes my heart sing. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time.